This is encouraging. I saw this on Twitter. This was from Sunday, May 19th. We have been talking about, and there was a new report, I should say. This is important. The Guardian has reported that individual members of Israel's security forces, so in other words, this is not policy. However, there's clearly an extraordinary lack of discipline going on. And also, let me just make it clear. This is the way that this type of stuff happens. When we had that torture regime in Iraq, there was no orders from Don Rumsfeld to torture prisoners. Mm-hmm. What the order was, or to the extent that there was we're taking the cuffs off you. We're taking the, you are unleashed. Do what you will. And that's how these type of things happen and that's the point of how these things happen, whether it's police or military forces.
So you're saying this is a little more formal than, I don't know, Barak Ravid claiming that these are like roving gangs of people that they're trying to stop aid, and saying that it's like Somalia.
Well, they're roving gangs, except for, according to this Guardian reporting, individual members of Israeli security forces are tipping off far-right activists and settlers to the location of aid trucks delivering vital supplies to Gaza, enabling the groups to block and vandalize the convoys. This according to multiple sources. Settlers intercepting the vital humanitarian supplies to the Strip are receiving information about the location of the aid trucks from members of the Israeli police and military. A spokesperson from the main Israeli activist group behind the blockades told The Guardian. Rachel Tuatow, a spokesperson for the Israeli group Tzav 9, said the group had been blocking trucks as they made their way through Israel since January on the grounds that the aid they carried was hijacked by Hamas once it reached Gaza. Now, I would just want to contemplate for a moment. Let's just, for the sake of argument, grant to these thugs that Hamas is taking the aid.
Hijacking it.
What are they doing with it then? Maybe they're selling it at exorbitant prices. But somebody's getting the aid. I mean, it's not like they're shipping it to Egypt. The point is that aid is going into Gaza, and the more aid that goes into Gaza, the less that Hamas could hijack, and the less that you could protect the black market that you don't want to develop. I mean, it's just absurd. Even if you stipulate every single thing these thugs want you to believe, it's still just beyond reprehensible. It's a war crime.
They're at the base level. They're admitting that they want any person who they suspect to be a Hamas fighter to starve to death, and that is like with a blanket assumption that they're working with, even though we know, but they consider everyone Hamas.
Like Hamas is taking all of this aid that is supposedly for 2 million people, and there's how many Hamas fighters there now? If we're to believe Israel, there can't be more than 20,000 Hamas fighters still alive. Maximum, absolute maximum. So if you're putting in aid that supposedly will feed 2 million people, what are they doing with it? I mean, it's just absurd. It's an absolute fabrication. I mean, it's not all of this stuff is going to last forever. I mean, it's just absurd. It's just an absurd justification.
But you got to say something, otherwise we have to confront the fact that fascist gangs are starving people intentionally.
Right, exactly. And they're being aided and abetted by the Israeli government
and
forces.
To your point about torture, right? Like there was, when there was that question by that German reporter about genocide to the UN Special Rapporteur a few months ago, he said, do you have an official government document where the Israeli officials show that their intent to commit genocide. And her response was perfect, where she said, do you think in Rwanda or in Bosnia-Herzegovina there was an official government document, or let alone the Holocaust, right? Like saying, well, I mean, it's a little bit different because genocide, we kind of came up with some of those definitions after the fact. But like, in those examples, the previous ones, were there official government documents saying our intent is to commit genocide? No. It's basically what you signal and the implicit understandings that branch out from that. And starvation is a weapon of war, but in this case, you know, killing civilians is a part of that too.
Here is a video of Omdim Beyachem. Israeli organization, translates into Standing Together, posting that they have protected 30 aid trucks from Israeli protesters. To be clear, this is an Israeli organization, grassroots organization. We'll put a link in this Twitter thread. There's a link where you can donate to them. They're being sponsored by another organization. And this is great. It is great to see some Israelis standing up to these thugs.
We are here from the humanitarian aid by standing together. We came to make sure that all the trucks with the supply to Gaza will get to their final destination. We come here in the morning and we made sure that the settlers won't be able to block the road. The settlers were in the Tartumia junction. We got there and made the police push them away. Then they blocked another junction. We came here just when they started attacking the trucks. By our help, the settlers were removed from the trucks and the trucks was able to go forward to Gaza. Some of the food on the trucks was falling, so we collect everything together and we will bring it to the next trucks that will come. Up to now, all the food that went out today will get to Gaza safely.
Good for them.
Amazing. And even though it's still a minority, a significant minority in Israeli society, this is how these things begin to grow, right? And humanity can actually penetrate so much of this brainwashing.
I hope so. Biden and Blinken, the way that they are covering for this is putting all these people who are doing heroic actions lives in danger, frankly.
Absolutely.
And to be clear, you know, if and I know that there are people in our audience who have family members who need to see these type of things, because for some people who have been, you know, sort of immersed in this propaganda since early childhood, it is impossible for them to imagine that the Israeli government, that the Israeli society could be doing things that are, you know, horrible. And sometimes the only way they'll believe it if an Israeli tells them that it's happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. And, you know, but be clear. Those folks in, you know, standing together, wearing those purple shirts, they are in the minority. But, and there are, let's put it this way, there, you know, they're having to go and record the police standing by. I mean, you heard him say, we had to force the police to do their job. Were they not there, it is quite clear that the government apparatus is perfectly on board with these right-wingers. And really, I mean, not just the right-wingers. I mean, let's be honest. In terms of like Israeli society, if this was not accepted by Israeli society, you'd have a lot more. They wouldn't have to be wearing purple shirts. Let's put it that way.
Right.
These thugs would be treated like the criminals they are, and you wouldn't have to put on, you know, purple shirts and join an organization to be doing this. You would see people getting out of their cars and pushing these settlers and activists and whatever you want to call them to the side. So you get a sense of what the balance of Israeli society is doing at this point.
And I can't help, as we sort of recognize what's going on in Israeli society, like we also have people wanting to volunteer to turn away refugees at the border in this country, or border patrol dumping out their water that is left in the deserts.
Right.
It's the same pathology.
Yeah, exactly. And we have, stories of folks who go down there and they raise money and they'll go around with old water trucks and they'll fill water containers in the desert. Yeah. Lawful Waffle, petition to rename the fun half as the propaganda hour. Well, first off, we do 90 minutes.
The whole show is propaganda, yeah.
Exactly. And the whole show is propaganda. It's just that you don't like what we're talking about. But I invite, if there's the amazing thing about this is that here we are 8 months into this, war. And the only thing that can be said in response to what Israel is doing is, and I don't stipulate every single aspect of this, horrible atrocity, war crimes of Hamas involving 650 people on October 7th. The attack on the military, it's a war. The Hamas fighters attacking Israeli military base, killing soldiers. I'm not in favor of any war whatsoever, but it's war. But by all means, show me something that justifies what's going on there. Explain to me why you have Netanyahu's own government, on the brink of falling apart. I mean, honestly, there's nothing.
If you think we're engaging in propaganda here, you've got to really take a long look in the mirror.
You can argue about the semantics of the word genocide, or you could say that college kids shouldn't be protesting, or that they, but everything that you're going to argue is completely, it's not even second order. It's third order stuff. Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.